The wreath ceremony is now complete. The Memorial Day observance will begin momentarily. Please move to your seats. Please stand for the arrival of the official party for the invocation and national anthem. Distinguished guests, the President of the United States, accompanied by the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Distinguished guests, Chaplain Colonel James Foster, Command Chaplain, Joint Task Force, National Capital Region, and the United States Army Military District of Washington.
I invite you to bow your heads with humble and grateful hearts as I now pray. On this Memorial Day, I lift my voice in thanks to the Almighty and amazing God. I thank you for the sacrifices made, for the blood that was shed, for the hearts that were broken, for our freedoms, for our salvation, for the lives we enjoy today and tomorrow. God, death is so very real, and the grave is undeniable, but it is not the end. We continue to stand and we continue to unite together in strength and have a hope in the victories to come. In my feeble attempt to do so, Lord, along with all those around this nation, I call upon you to help us as a people to uphold the ideals of this great nation, that we might stand resolute with our forefathers and declare with confidence these same words inscribed on the marble above, that those who died, who lie in the hallowed grounds around us and around the globe, whom we honor today, did not give their lives in vain. We honor them, Lord, with our devoted lives. Grant us your strength to embolden the weak, give courage to do what is right, and give us a unity of spirit to bind us together. God, stir us, awaken us, help us to walk by faith and give you glory. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the United States Navy Band and Sea Chanters Chorus in singing our national anthem. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, General Mark Milley.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Secretary Austin, fellow Joint Chiefs of Staff and spouses, distinguished guests, fellow Americans, and most importantly, Gold Star families, welcome to all. Today, we join in remembrance of the 155th observance of Memorial Day. It is a day of profound significance in the legacy of our nation. On this day, we remember the over 1 million Americans who took their last breath on the bedrock of liberty, supporting the eternal cause of freedom. Their unwavering commitment, their dedication to freedom, their echoes through the ages, reminding us of our sacred duty to remember. And behind every one of these men and women is a family, a husband or a wife, a mother or a father, a brother or a sister, a son or a daughter. For these families, every day is Memorial Day, and they each carry on the dreams that our fallen could never fully realize. This land where we stand today once housed 3 forts, sentinels, which overlooked and defended Washington, D.C. But now it serves a more subtle purpose. It is the final resting place of our nation's bravest, a quiet testament to their sacrifice. We gather on these sacred grounds where over 400,000 are buried. Here at Arlington National Cemetery's 85 sections, they tell the story of our nation. A narrative not written in ink, but written in valor and sacrifice. This cemetery paints the picture of the cost required for all of us to remain free. Some here are buried amongst their family and legacies which transcend generations. Others are best friends who fought together, died together, and now unbroken even by death. Yet our nation's fallen are not only represented on these hallowed grounds, they are represented on every piece of land where American blood has been spilled in the service of our country. Sailors are resting in the seabed at Pearl Harbor, and the white headstones of 9,387 Americans enshrined outside Saint-Laurent-sur-Mer in France, overlooking the sands of Omaha Beach, as well as the more than 81,500 Americans who still remain missing, our sons and daughters, brothers and sisters who have never returned home. The search for these missing will continue until they are all brought home. It is our final solemn promise to these heroes, their families, and to our nation. Each of these Americans epitomize our tradition of honor, the ethos which defines our armed forces and defines our nation. Individually, they represent the single life cut short, life events never accomplished. We feel their absence in the very depths of our hearts. But together they represent the indomitable spirit of the American military. They are a permanent reminder that freedom is a gift to us all, a gift paid for by those who gave, in the words of Lincoln, the last full measure of devotion. And today we honor them, we remember them, and today we say their names. And in doing so, we ensure their sacrifice will never be forgotten. We will forever walk among these giants as we continue to uphold the cause for which they died, the cause of America, which will endure through all challenges. In fact, the greatest honor that we can bestow upon those who have fallen, the way to remember them the best, is to ensure that this idea of freedom, that the Constitution of the United States of America, the idea that is America, will continue for our posterity and shall not perish from this earth. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, the United States Navy Band and the Sea Chanters Chorus will perform "This Land Is Your Land." Distinguished guests, the Honorable Lloyd Austin III.
Well, let's give the band and the chorus another round of applause. That was absolutely outstanding. Well, good morning, President Biden, Dr. Biden, Vice President Harris, Mr. Imhoff, distinguished guests. I am absolutely honored to be here with you this morning. And thank you, General Milley, for your leadership. To our Gold Star families and to all who remember a fallen American hero today, I know that each Memorial Day brings new waves of both pride and pain. And on behalf of the Department of Defense, please accept our country's deepest gratitude for all that you have given and our deepest sympathies for all that you have lost. We pledge again today to ensure that you and your families have the support that you need and deserve. You will always be a part of our military family, and we hold in our hearts all those who fell to defend the country that they love. Each of them has a story. And one of the stories of the graves here at Arlington belongs to Chaplain Charles Waters. He was a Catholic priest who signed up to serve during the Vietnam War and to support his teammates in body and soul. And after a year-long deployment, he volunteered to extend his tour for another 6 months. And one November day in 1967, his battalion hit fierce fighting. And Chaplain Waters ran unarmed into the battle, exposed to mortar fire, bullets, and automatic weapons. He helped get wounded soldiers to safety, and he gave last rites to the fallen. At one point, he saw a U.S. paratrooper in shock in the line of enemy fire. Chaplain Waters hoisted the paratrooper on his shoulders and carried him to safety. And tragically, later that day, Chaplain Waters was killed. And for his extraordinary heroism, this paratrooper, patriot, and priest who volunteered twice, once to serve and once to extend his tour, was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. This year, our country celebrates the 50th anniversary of our all-volunteer force. And the life of Charles Waters offered a preview of the vigor and the valor of the American warriors who have chosen to step up and serve from 1973 until this day. Our all-volunteer force has blended military power with moral power and combined the force of American arms with the strength of people who freely choose to stand guard over our democracy. In 1970, the Gates Commission recommended eliminating conscription. And its formal report predicted that an all-volunteer force will strengthen our freedoms and our armed forces. And it did. Every time a qualified American stands up and raises their hand and serves with honor from any corner of the country, from any background, color, or creed, this exceptional nation becomes even safer and stronger. Every fallen hero has a story. It is our duty to remember those we have lost. It is our honor to stand with their families. And it is our sacred obligation to remember all that you have given. So let us strive to honor the memory of our fallen by writing the next chapters in America's story of service. Let us stand with all who pledge their lives to defend human freedom, and let us come together as one nation to strengthen our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, our Commander-in-Chief has long been a champion of our men and women in uniform and of the military families who serve right alongside them. And on this day of sorrow and service, it is my absolute honor to introduce the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. 155 years ago, retired Union General James Garfield spoke here at Arlington, marking our nation's first Memorial Day. Standing amid rows and rows of marble stones, many of his own fallen soldiers among them, he asked, "What brought these men here? What high motive led them to welcome death?" And he answered his own question. He said, "Our nation's life." My fellow Americans, Jill, Vice President Harris, Second Gentleman Inhofe, Secretary Austin, Secretary McDonough, Secretary Mayorkas, General Milley, and most importantly, veterans, servicemen and women, and their survivors. Today, we once again gather in this sacred place at this solemn hour to honor fallen heroes. To once again stand amid the rows and rows of marble stones and bear witness to the brave women and men who served and sacrificed for our freedom and for our future. Those who died so our nation might live. Every year, as a nation, we undertake this rite of remembrance. For we must never forget the price that was paid to protect our democracy. We must never forget the lives these flags, flowers, and marble markers represent. A mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sister, a spouse, a friend, an American. Every year we remember, and every year it never gets easier. To all those here and across the nation who are grieving the loss of a loved one who wore the uniform, our Gold Star families, to all those with loved ones still missing and unaccounted for, I know how painful it can be, how it can rip open that black hole in the center of your chest you feel like you're just sinking into. Bringing you back to that exact moment you heard that knock on the door or the telephone ring. The exact moment you had to tell your children that mom or dad would not be coming home. The hurt is still real. It's still raw. Tomorrow marks 8 years since we lost our son, Bo. Our losses are not the same. He didn't perish in the battlefield. It was cancer that stole him from us a year after being deployed as a major in the United States Army National Guard in Iraq. As it is for so many of you, the pain of his loss is with us every day, but particularly sharp on Memorial Day. Still clear. Tomorrow is his anniversary. But so is the pride Jill and I feel in this service, as if I can still hear him saying, "Dad, it's my duty, Dad. It's my duty. Duty." That was the code my son lived by, and all those you lost lived by.
It's the creed that millions of service members have followed from the fields of Yorktown to the shores of Normandy, to the rice paddies of Pusan, to the valleys of Kandahar, to the mountains of Sinjar and beyond, many of whom never returned home. Throughout history, these women and men laid down their lives, not for a place or a person or a president, but for an idea, unlike any other idea in all of human history. The idea of the United States of America. This sanctuary honors that sacrifice and tells their stories. And in turn, it tells our story, the American story, the story of the patriot who died to deliver a nation